Today we're going to drive the Bugatti Chiron for the first time since the accident. We come so close in the last video to being able to drive it, but we did manage to fit the new interior and the new radiators, but there is one thing that stops us. Oh no. The radiator at the front failed our pressure test, which means that we weren't able to fill the car up with coolant. Now Bob made these radiators from scratch because we weren't able to get them from Bugatti, but we think this one here, you can see the dent, we think that one got damaged in transit. But we've still managed to split the car in half, repair the gearbox mounting, put the car back together, start it for the first time, and replace all of the airbags. That is an Aston Martin airbag fitted into a Bugatti Chiron. But if we have any hope on getting this car running, then we've got to fix this radiator first. Right, let's pick up where we left off from, which was right at the back here. There is one coolant expansion tank reservoir here, and that is for the engine coolant. This is another coolant reservoir, and this is for the charged coolers. And also, they're gonna have radiators at the front as well. One of them has been made by Bob, the other one is original. We need to check the pressure on this as well, because if there is any leaks, we should fix it now before we start fixing the other radiators. So we're gonna put some pressure through this one, because we never got that far yet. And we'll see if any air comes out of that. Hopefully it holds pressure in that. Let's see. To do that, we need this mechanism here. Literally screws on to the coolant reservoir. And then we need this little mechanism. Goes onto the mechanism. And that will create a seal. Right. Now we're going to pump and see if we get some pressure. Now I'm just literally pumping the air into the cooling system and hoping that it will hold the pressure. Because this didn't end so well when we did the engine side of the coolant. 10 psi, I think that should be enough. If we could hear a little hissing, let's go have a little search. And so far, so good. Can't hear anything coming from the radiators. It looks like that's holding. Good news. We double and triple checked them, but everything seemed good. So the only broken radiator was the one in the center, which was part of the engine cooling. So now, it's time to start dismantling it again and taking it all off so we can see how we can repair it. First off, removing the top hose, the bottom hose. This is of the radiator in front. Then we need to go underneath the car and remove the right hand side hose and the left hand side hose of the radiator, which is underneath, which is actually the one that's damaged. Then we can unbolt the lower mountings, go back onto the top to unbolt the upper mountings. And after that, we need to remove the two overflow pipes, one for each radiator. Then we can pull them away from the car whilst my dad unplugs the fans. That's definitely been dropped on that, isn't it? 100%. And you can see how it's damaged. There's a dent right there on the branch of the radiator. So now all that's left to do is separate them both, and then we can see how we can fix it. And I think I know just the guy. Bob!
Hi.
It's broken.
It's bent.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's definitely had impact. It felt like it was coming from the inside of the core there.
So the way they're made, they're dipped in some magic stuff and then baked. So the seal along the side of the core is tough, but it's very, very thin. So if it does take an impact, the metal around here is very strong. So get that pushed in there and it just breaks the seal around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How are we going to fix it?
I've brought a core with me.
Oh, we're going to re-core the whole thing?
Yeah.
So does that mean you've got to take these tabs off and everything?
I'm putting back on the right side.
Right, let's recore, and I think we've got some more stuff that we need to do as well. Right, Bob, round two. Let's do it. So essentially, what Bob's going to do is cut off this section of the radiator. This is the part that took the longest to actually make. The core he just bought from a shop for about £180. Whilst Bob cracks on with that, we can now put back in the Bugatti washer bottle, because all of this carbon has been all fixed and replaced. All these little jobs now are really time consuming. And there is going to be little parts of this Bugatti that we're going to need, like shrouding and plastic covers, and they're going to take a long time to make. But at the minute, I just want to concentrate in getting this car running without any warning lights on the dash. And meanwhile, Bob has cut the tank off the radiator. You can't really see any obvious damage there.
The fins are damaged there because I just cut through the side of it and the saw blade hit the fin.
Oh, that sucks. Is it just a case of putting this on the other one?
Well done.
And Bob has brought with him an entire new radiator core. So he's just got to weld the tanks off the other one onto this one. Next step, I think we can do, we're just doing all these little tiny bits, which are very time consuming. This fuse board here took a beating in the accident, and I managed to find that they were off a Lamborghini Gallardo. This is a Lamborghini Gallardo fuse board. I'm going to switch this out onto there. Let's start switching them over. Luckily, most of the parts that have been broken on this Bugatti have been interchangeable with other parts on other cars. Just like this Gallardo fuse box. The only thing that isn't interchangeable was the cover that goes over the top. The Gallardo doesn't have one, but the Bugatti did. So that's something that we're going to have to make. But for now, the fuses are in and Bob's ready to weld on the tanks onto the core of the radiator. He lines them all up, tack welds them onto each corner, and then the proper TIG welding can begin. Remember, all of this is aluminium, and it takes a very precise welding, which is really hard to get right, which is exactly why I've got Bob to do it. Once he's done that, he's got to cut the tabs off the old radiator core, because these have got to go on the new one because these support the fans. And that is one radiator pretty much complete. You join me at the back of the Chiron, and what we actually noticed previously is this is a secondary air pump. Blows air into the exhaust to cut emissions on a cold start, load of weird stuff. It's not really needed, but sometimes it can make it misfire from cold start. And this one was always missing. We don't know why. We don't know why that was taken off, and I still don't know why it was taken off. Obviously, we can't order one. So we had to cross-reference this one, and what I found is one of a Volkswagen Passat, I think it was. Now that is exactly the same as that, but I have noticed a small issue is that the air filter, which clips on here and the air filter goes on there, that sucks the air in, is slightly different. So I've had to order an air filter of another air pump which should be arriving, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue of being able to fit this. I hope it's not handed left hand and right hand. So I'm going to take this one off this bracket, fit it to here, and then hopefully when we start the car the next time it should actually run really nicer, provided it's got fuel, because we forgot about that last time. Let's do it. These secondary air pumps only really start up when the car's on cold start, and it blows fresh air into the exhaust system so that it can try and heat up the catalytic converters as quick as possible. That way it reduces the emissions on the cold start. But I think if you've got a W16 engine, emissions isn't the first thing on your mind. But if we don't have these, it's likely it'll bring an engine light on the dash. Luckily, I found this one off a Volkswagen Passat and it fits straight in. All I need is the air filter for it, which should arrive later. Good?
Good, all good.
That's the next step, it's looking good.
Yeah.
Time for the ultimate test, the pressure test. Right, we're going to 14 PSI.
Is it the moment of truth?
Sorry, I went to 20 instead.
Straight to 20.
Bob's made the new radiator, and what we're doing now is pressure testing it off the car. We've blocked over all the exit ports of the radiator, and we're pumping air into one side to see if it holds pressure. 25. 31. 36. Yeah, it's just seeping out. I think we're good. I'm going to relieve it of some pressure before we all have an explosion in here. But that's good. Good work. Good start. It's a good start to the Miami trip from Bob. And although the rad didn't have any leaks, when we went to fit it up against the other radiator, something was wrong. What's happened there? A minute ago, these fitted.
He's thinking now. He's confused.
Can you see what's happened here? Look, so that line's there, and this now. Is this bit wider? What's happened? Yeah, that lines up good there, look. Hole goes straight through, no problem. That lines up there. And then this is only slightly off, like I reckon the bracket could adjust. Oh, but this isn't quite...
No, it's bigger.
It's
They've
slightly
made it
big.
wrong.
What, they made the core bigger?
Yeah, it's 10 mil bigger.
Oh my god.
Oh no, oh no. It seems like the actual radiator core that Bob's brought over is 10 mil wider than the old one we had.
Be fine.
Let's see if it singly goes on. Right. This might not be a problem as long as it fits in between the chassis legs.
Doesn't seem too bad.
And it looks like it does. So all we need to do is try and modify this radiator now so it will actually bolt on to the other rad. I think we could still make that work because these brackets, I remember they did have adjustment.
Rubber mounted anyway, so.
Yeah, I think it can still work. The good news is though, there's more cooling in 10 mil. It's got more chance of staying cool. So literally, yeah, tiny bit move in, tiny bit move in. We're nearly there, almost.
Cool, give me 20 minutes.
20 minutes of Bob welding. So Bob is now going to modify the brackets on this radiator so then it will fit against the other radiator. Because you can see that the new core measures in at 66 millimeters, whereas the old one measures in at 65. So whilst he's modifying that, I'm going to put on the rear bumper. The one thing that we can put on is the rear bumper because the rear bumper doesn't need to be painted, and I'll show you that in a second. So we're going to crack on at doing that. With the rear bumper on, it means the rear lights on as well, so at least we've got like a brake light and everything if we do end up going up and down the road. So first step is the rear crash bar area. Unlike a normal aluminium or steel crash bar, the Bugatti has a sort of extended one with carbon fibre, and I dread to think how much this costs. But luckily there was no damage to the rear of Alex's car, so the old ones could just bolt straight on. Next step is this sort of scoop for some kind of cooling or airflow which sits over the exhaust. Then it's time for the rear bumper. As you can see, none of it needs painting because the whole thing is completely carbon.
Cut this piece off because I need to move it 5 mil that way. But what I've done also, he's got a bit too close to his fitting. So I've thinned out the wall there, and I'm afraid that might leak once it all goes back together. And it'll leak underneath that, which is no good to me because there's a hole in it that will come through and I'll never be able to get to it in the future. So what I'm going to do first is seal this area, so when I put the fitting back on, or this thing back on, it'll be sealed under it so it can't leak.
Bob is now making sure the wall won't leak once he puts the new fitting back on. Then he can clean up the fitting, put that 5 mil closer and then weld it to it. And whilst he's doing that, I'm now sliding on the rear bumper because hopefully once this is fitted, we should never have to take it back off again because the rest of the panels are going to be all painted. I've got to plug in all the electrical connections for the bumper, then this hose which goes to an air filter, and these electrical connections here, which won't be connected just yet, go to a computer in the rear quarter, which I'm not sure what it's for at the minute. Then I can go underneath the Bugatti and put in the final bolts which hold the rear diffuser to that air guide. The really good thing is that the Valvetronic guys managed to line up the exhaust perfectly with the rear diffuser without having the rear diffuser. So that is another stress off the chest, but that is pretty good. It's fitted to an extent. There's still more bolts and stuff to go in for the final fit, but that is good enough for now, and that is looking way more like a car. So far, so good. I think we might do the radiator next. Bob's done it. Modification of the nation. It's done. Oh, it's warm. Oh, it's really warm.
It's done until we find the next problem.
Yeah. Well, the next thing we're going to do is fit these radiators. So we're just bolting up the brackets again, which you've already seen, and then hopefully this is the time. Third time lucky. Finally, the radiators have done. After a long battle of having to make and modify multiple times to get them right. It was never going to be easy. As I knew when I first took on this project, with Bugatti refusing to sell us parts, everything we were going to have to replace on this car was going to have to be made. And as you guys know, I'm no fabricator, so I've had to find a team who could make all these parts for us. the vacuum filler, aka Mr. Suck. And now Mr. Suck can go onto the coolant reservoir, and when that sits on there, it should suck out all of the air that's in the cooling system and hopefully hold its negative pressure. Bob's putting on the fitting for Mr. Suck, or we could call her Mrs. Suck. She could be Mrs. Suck. And Mrs. Suck is going to blow compressed air straight through there. That compressed air is going to get pulled straight through there, which is going to pull a vacuum inside the cooling system. Then we should see negative pressure build up in the cooling system. We're going to lock the taps off, and what we should hope is that it will hold the negative pressure. If it starts then creeping back up, we know we've got a leak somewhere. This is how we're going to fill the coolant, but we're hoping to test that it doesn't have any leaks with this as well. It's a little harder to find the leak if we do it this way, because it'll be sucking rather than blowing, but hopefully we'll have a clear answer when we start doing this. So on goes the air fitting across Mrs. Suck. Then we can open the tap and we should see negative pressure build up, or build down, whatever the correct terminology is. And we can see on the gauge now, slowly the gauge is rising, which means we're getting negative pressure. And you can see the hoses collapsing here. And if we have a leak, when we turn the tap off, the pressure will build back up again. But let's hope not. Okay, so we're at about -20. We'll see if that will hold its negative pressure. And we left it for a few minutes, and the negative pressure seems to be holding in the same spot, which is good news. Guys, we are rolling deep in -21 inches of mercury right now. We are rolling hard, and we've been rolling hard for a good couple of minutes. I think we're looking good. Let's go, Bob. Let's go, Bob. Just for context, as well, that's 1:30 in the morning US time. That's like 6:30 in Ireland. And we're there. We are there. Come on. That's good enough to fill coolant in. And I think that's the next step. 39 litres of coolant this car takes. An insane amount. And we've got to vacuum fill all of it. In the hose goes into the bucket, and as soon as we open the tap, the negative pressure is going to suck all of the coolant into that cooling system. Normally, I would have filled the hose up with coolant first just to prevent any air getting into it. But I'm not too worried about airlocks on this car. It's still going down. This is an insane amount of coolant. This is ridiculous. I was having to top the bucket up fast. I can't believe how much is going in. And bit by bit, it was sucking all of the coolant in. Regardless of how hard we try to get this car back to original, back to how it should be, no matter what we do, if you put the VIN number into car vertical, you're always going to see that this car has history of being crash damaged. And that will happen with all the cars that have been registered as damaged if you check them out on car vertical. So the first thing that you guys should be doing before you buy a car is putting the VIN into car vertical to make sure there's no hidden history there. You'll be able to see a timeline every time a number plate's been changed, every time it's had an MOT, any mileage discrepancies that it's had, whether it's ever been stolen, whether it's wanted as stolen, whether it's had any outstanding finance. You'll be able to see it all on car vertical. Oh, we're looking good. The practice is 0. Any leaks? Any leaks? Oh. Oh.
Oh no.
Oh. We've got wet here. Something wasn't right. Bob ain't having a good day with these radiators, is he? We vacuum tested it, look.
Literally dripping out the same radiator. I'm starting to think he just wants to come back to Miami.
Oh. The mounts that Bob had just moved were leaking for a tiny hole. We've just filled it all with coolant. We've just filled the whole thing with coolant. Now we've got to empty it all back out. Oh no. Not only on one side, but also on the other side as well. All the coolant out, get this rad out. Bob ain't here, so I'm gonna be Bob right now. I've seen him weld many times. Let's see if I can fix this for good. I've got to learn at some point, ain't I? I've got to learn. Also, remember, if you do check your car out on Car Vertical, then if it has been crashed, sometimes it'll even show photos of when the car was auctioned off at the car crash auction site, just like the car that's on the screen now. So remember to check your car out on Car Vertical. Click the link in the description box below. Use the discount code Matt to save money on that check as well. And hopefully you won't be buying any lemons. Let's get this radiator off for the final time, hopefully. Let's go. Now, hopefully this is for the final time. The amount of times we've taken this radiator off and on is unbelievable. And to be fair, I wasn't actually going to show you guys this part because it's not the most entertaining thing taking on and off a radiator. But what I did want to show you guys is how hard it is to get a project like this right. And nothing ever goes smoothly first time. That's just cars for you. I'm loading up the pressure tester now so I can see exactly where the holes are in this radiator. That hole there.
Seeping out.
Have I got the minerals to hold that?
Yes.
I like your confidence.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to start with that side, because that's a smaller hole in it. I've watched Bob weld so many times now. I can weld MIG steel. Well, when I say I can weld, like it's... Bob was doing it yesterday, wasn't he? He's not here today. First step, let's make sure it's nice and clean, and then we're going to start welding. Come on, me! Okay, I've never actually TIG welded anything before, so I'm going for a little practice, and once I was happy with my attempt, it's time to get going on a Bugatti radiator. No pressure. I was being really careful because I didn't want to damage the radiator any more than it already was. And as for Bob, well, he was out enjoying himself. But actually, it looks like we might not have needed him for this. Time to pressure test it to see if my welds are going to actually hold up. This one weren't that bad. What are we going to do?
I think we need to wait for Bob.
Yeah. It didn't work. No. Never mind.
This thing I am sick of looking at. It is just minor problem, minor problem, minor problem. And it's all stuff that is like easily fixed or like easily like you could avoid happening. I just keep missing things. Like it's a bit too long because we ordered it. It came in too long and there was some confusion in the email. The brackets are in the wrong place because it was too long. We changed them around, dead easy to do. Fine, took me like 15 minutes. Then that caused it to leak for some reason. We pressure tested it with a vacuum tester after, it didn't show up, and then once we put coolant in it, it showed up, which makes no sense. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It was also 3 a.m. in the morning.
It was 3 a.m. Yeah, it was 3 a.m. when we were doing it. So it's likely we missed it. Should have pressure tested it instead of vacuum testing it, whatever. But it's not a problem because that's what we do. We fix things. That's what we do. That's why we're here. Let's get this welded. 10 minutes back in the car.
Some things are better left to the professionals. Eventually, I will learn how to TIG weld, and I think I've got the right guy to teach me. Bob's now filled in the holes in the radiator, pressure testing it, and everything seems all good. Hopefully now this is the final time we're fitting the rads to the car. No matter what I could do with welding this, I could not get it going. And Bob's even said that it's not for beginners. There's loads of different bits, there's dirt, and I thought it was going to be easier. Bob made it look easy, but obviously it ain't. Time to reassemble the radiators once again. And we're getting pretty fast at it now. Me and Bob are putting them into place, bolting them down, connecting all the hoses up, and it's time for round 2. I'm just going to pressure test it instead of vacuum filling it, because if I vacuum fill it, it's going to suck all the coolant that I've already put in out. And everything seems so good so far. Again, we held at 15 PSI. But we know now this can lie. Both Mr. Suck and Mr. Push have lied in the past and gave us false confidence. Let's hope now it's not. Coolant is going in, come on. I'm just going to pour the coolant straight in because, as I mentioned before, I'm not too worried about airlocks because the reservoir is so high. Oh.
That's all down the floor.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as if we didn't get coolant on the floor, so. Next step is that one. I'm also, again, confident to pour that in because it's so high up. I think the air will find its way to that place, so I'm confident just to pour that one in instead of vacuum filling it. Again, the amount of coolant that this car takes is completely shocking. I've never known a car like it. Oh, perfect. Yeah, look, the air is literally finding its way out. Doesn't have a name, this car.
Beatrice.
Ed? Yeah. Oh, Ed. Yeah, Ed's quite, yeah.
Why Ed?
Ed Chiron.
Ed Chiron, oh my god.
Eventually, the coolant reservoir for all the turbo cooling was pretty much full. And by this time, the air filter for the secondary air pump had arrived, so I can start fitting that into place, bolting it to the frame, and then I've got to connect up the hose to the secondary air pump. Now, hopefully when we start it, there should be no engine management light. Time to see if this car will actually run to temperature. 100 litre fuel tank. So imagine you've got 139 litres, and that's without oil. And you've got like 20 litres of oil in there. There's a lot of fluid in this car, isn't there?
Imagine 100 litres of fuel and you can get through it in 10 minutes. That's ridiculous.
Okay. Should be enough to run its temperature, that. I hope. Okay. Time to connect the battery. This is the moment that we've worked so long for. And this is going to be the true test of whether we need to do any more work to the engine. The battery goes in underneath the car and there's 4 terminals, 2 positive and 2 negative. We're connecting all of that up and then bolting the battery to the bottom of the carbon monocoque. Then we can bring the car down and start it to see if it'll run to temperature. Okay, here's the plan. We get in. I don't think there's a coolant temperature gauge on the dash from what I remember. So I'm going to plug in the Autel so I can see live data of the temperature, the coolant temperature. And then what we're looking for is around 90 degrees and then it stays at 90 degrees. The fans should kick in, keep it all nice and cool, and we should have no leaks. I'm hoping everything works because Alex has been driving it without the coolant in, which could have caused damage to the engine. This is going to decide it now. Right, there was actually a coolant gauge on the screen, but it was in Fahrenheit. Instead of 90 degrees, we're looking for 194 Fahrenheit. I will plug this into it. Okay. Loud, isn't it? Oh my god.
That is so loud.
It is loud, isn't it?
Oh my god. Looking all good at the minute. No leaks.
We still have every single light on the dashboard ever. We've got traction, EPC, airbag, steering, stabilisation control. We've got every light. What I'm going to do, clear it on the Autel, but I think a lot of them will come back and still until we start sorting other stuff out. 148 Fahrenheit so far. Slowly, the temperature started to rise. And the car was drinking more and more coolant. So we had to go back to the tanks and top them both up, the engine and the charge cooling one. And eventually we was getting close to that 194 Fahrenheit. We're at 194, we've gone to 195. 197, are the fans not come on the front yet?
It has.
The fans are on.
The fans are on.
If it stays here, if it can stay here, oh, we're at 201. Come on, cool down. 201, 201.
198 Fahrenheit is 92 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
That's fine.
That is fine.
I'd expect
Yeah, it's come back down. It's come back down to 199. We're at 201, we've come back down to 199.
It is holding.
I think we've done it.
I'm scared.
I think we've done it. but I don't want to speak too soon. But I think we did it. I think the Honda Civic Rads have worked. Everything seems good. That is sounding good. The radiator seems to be holding. The car is running to temperature. I think it's running to temperature.
It's there. It's there.
I think it's finally there. Woo! It is hot in here.
Bob, I think you've done it.
I am relieved, very relieved. I don't have to make any more radiators.
We can finally move on to more faults. Come on! Lights next. Let's go. The radiators actually worked. We're now so close to getting this car driving. Hey, yo. What's going on? We're in the car. And we're now got to solve the faults. I love this bit. I love this bit. Things are fixing, and I like problem solving. Engine and transmission lights, airbag lights, all the other lights, steering lights. There's the list. I want to start with the airbag lights because that's what I'm most worried about. We've installed the Aston Martin airbag, we've installed the Audi A3 airbag, and we've reinstalled the Bugatti airbags between our feet, and we want to make sure that they all pass the test on here because we need to get that airbag light off the dash, and we need to make sure it's safe for Alex because we know he's a responsible driver. Let's see why the airbag light is on. I wasn't expecting 3 faults, I was only expecting 2, but that's okay because the only 2 faults we've got in the airbag is driver front airbag crash sensor, and then front passenger front crash sensor as well, and then battery interruption igniter resistance too low. I'm unsure on that one, but I know about the front 2, and they're the crash sensors. The good news is that we've got no faults for the steering wheel airbag, passenger airbag, all of the airbags that we put in the car. There's no faults on here for that. So as far as the car knows, thinks, everything is all good here. The problem is actually outside, and we need to go to the outside to solve it. Okay, 3 faults in the airbag system. Let's get through them all. Those 2 front crash sensors, which are going to help us plug in to here and here. But we just don't want to plug the crash sensors in and have them loose because there's potential it could just reset off the airbags if we knock them. Those crash sensors go into a crash bar, which is on the front. And that was a whole issue in itself because the old crash bar was completely destroyed. To the point where it was hard to even tell what it was supposed to look like before the accident. This whole thing is so important because it holds the bumper, it holds the front splitter, it's literally the front end of the car. It holds the horseshoe at the front, it holds the alarm, the horn, the crash sensors, the bonnet lock. Like if one of these things is out of line, the whole car is not going to look right. The bonnet isn't going to go down, the crash sensors aren't going to work, and nothing's going to line up. And the hardest part about all of this is we don't have one to copy. This is the one that we can copy, and it's absolutely mashed up. So with a lot of the other stuff, the windscreen, the headlights, few people have offered to bring a Bugatti Pur Sport down and we could 3D scan it. We've had a Pur Sport down here to 3D scan the windscreen, the headlights, the actual screen on the top. But what they wouldn't let us do is this front crash bar because nobody, believe it or not, would let us strip their Pur Sport apart so we could scan this. And without scanning one, it's going to be really hard to copy what this crash bar is supposed to look like. We spoke to everyone. And the first person we should have spoke to the whole time was Bob at the machine shop. We gave Bob the broken crash bar and he was going to do his best to try and replicate it and then copy what he thinks it should have looked like. He said he spent over 60 hours making this full crash beam, using the same aluminium as Bugatti used, cutting it down, welding it, filing it, heating it, doing everything it takes to try and make this front crash bar work. He even had to copy the points where there was loads of mountains, putting in riv nuts and tapping in threads. The amount of work that's gone into this thing is crazy, but the end product is something I just couldn't believe. Oh yeah. That is insane. What the hell is
What has
going
happened
on?
here?
What has gone on there? That is ridiculous. I'm not even gonna... How have you done that?
I just had a good guess.
There's no way. Look at the curve, look at the curve. Look at the curve there.
Literally the same.
That is mad. Like genuinely, like how the hell... I could understand the bottom bit. The bottom bit looks like it's not damaged. And I thought you were going to use the bottom bit and then weld off that. You've literally made an entire new one. Like how does that even happen? Because we couldn't measure. Every person we spoke to, it just said it's going to be too hard for us because we can't 3D scan anything. We don't know how it's supposed to go. If this bolts up, do you think it's going to bolt up?
Yeah, I guessed them good.
If this bolts up, that is definitely worth a subscribe to Bob's channel, because Bob's going to release a video how he did this, because I'm still mind boggled. I need to see the footage as well, because that looks crazy. I guess we won't know. Well, the first test will be to bolt it to that. The second test will be whether everything bolts to it perfectly, but it looks sick. Like, that looks crazy. Now, time to actually see if it fits up to the chassis legs. The moment of truth. That looks sick. It looks actually sick.
That is mad.
That is mad. We've never seen it like that. And do the bolt holes line up? Of course they do.
Straight in.
No way. That is actually nuts. Thank you, Bob. Got to be one of the best things you've done so far.
It was the most challenging thing, because the engine mount, that was just snapped, welded back together.
Yeah.
Radiators, we had something to measure. It was bent, but we had something to measure. I couldn't take a measurement of that.
It's actually starting to look like a car. Like Alex ain't even seen this yet. He's going to be buzzing. It's not even my car. And that is a 10 out of 10 effort. And is most definitely worth a subscribe. All we need to do now is paint this thing. So that's what we're about to do. First step, I need to add etch primer. Because this thing is bare metal, I need to protect it to make sure it don't ever corrode or the metal just exposed to the outside elements. Once that's on, then I can start adding the satin black. First layer on, couple more layers to go, and then finally the lacquer can go on. Once that's all dried up, I can then start transferring all the parts of the old crash bar onto the new one Bob's made. Okay, these are the crash sensors, and these should hopefully take off those two faults which we've got with the airbags. So these are off a Porsche. One goes in there like that. Okay. What those sensors do, when they get an impact, they tell the airbags to deploy, well, the front ones, and you have these sensors in the doors, in the back, and depending on which one gets hit, depends on which airbag goes off. It was that one that got hit in the accident, and I think that just triggered all the front airbags to deploy, as we found out. So it's really important that I tighten these down and they don't move around when we're driving the car, because it could trigger all the airbags to go off again. The crash bar is pretty much complete. There's a few more things to put on it, but I've only put the essentials on it for now to get it running and driving. Now to fit it up to the car and start putting in all the bolts to hold it to the frame. And so far it's lining up really well. Then I can start connecting up all the electrical connections like the crash sensors and the horn. And finally the bonnet latch needs to bolt in to the front crash bar as well. It's starting to look like a car. Look at this. Front end is on. It's the first type of fitment. Again, we're going to make some adjustments and everything. There's a few more things that need to go on, and the shrouding that needs to go on, which actually survived the crash. But for now, that is looking pretty sick. The bonnet latch is in place. Again, we're not going to know if everything's 100% until we get the body panels to put on and bolt on. So that's going to be like the sort of the moment we're not going to know about. Other than that though, it's looking sick. The radiators are fitting in, the crash bar is on. We've literally got last little bits now. The headlights are being done, the body panels are being done. But what I want to do is try and get rid of the warning lights on the dashboard, because the only sort of warning lights I think we should have now are for no headlights and just little things, nothing serious. So let's see if this has solved the airbag light. I know we had that outstanding one about the pyro fuse, which I want to check up on as well. But let's get the ignition on and see if we can clear those faults. Come on. Okay, what we got? Well, let's erase first and we'll see what comes back. 2 faults for the airbag, still. It's not good. That is not good. Okay, what have we got left? Okay, engine. Let's check the engine, because we'll have an engine light on if we've got a fault in there. EVAP emission control system pressure sensor input high. So that must be unplugged. That must be unplugged, whatever that is. EVAP emission control system pressure. Let's find out what that is. Turns out it's for a pressure sensor which sits just on top of the fuel tank. I think it's going to be unplugged. I can't see it being a fault with the pressure sensor in the fuel tank. Fuel tank's behind us. We've not had that out. We're going to have to look for something that's unplugged because of that. Transmission. The weird thing about the transmission, now all of these are passive faults, so they're not active. But for some reason, my reader won't let me delete them. But we have gone through the gears and it all works, but it won't let me delete them unless we have to drive it. The airbag one is the worrying one. Because after I scanned the airbag control module again, I still had the same fault. Front passenger crash sensor circuit open. And battery interruption igniter, that's a pyro fuse. And that's the crash sensor on the front. There's got to be a broken wire or something. Let's go see if we can find something that's unplugged in the engine bay and a crash sensor on the front which has got a broken wire. I looked around the engine bay for a while, especially looking round near where the fuel tank is, because we know it's a pressure sensor which goes around there. But everything was really hard to see now that the car was put back together. But eventually, I did find something. I found it. And this is not good. That is not good at all. Okay. Okay, our goal was to drive the car. Our goal was to drive the car and get it rolling. So we're gonna have to come back to this. I will explain later on what is going on, but that is not good. That is not good. Okay, we need to go and find the airbag fault. Let's find the airbag fault before things get any worse. We'll come back to this. I found the issue here. Ready?
That could be the issue.
So this is another thing we're finding this more and more and more on cars, is that sometimes the wiring doesn't look broke at all because it still sits inside the tape, but I've literally just pulled that tape back and that would explain why this crash sensor isn't working. So let's solder these back up, and that's one issue solved. At least we got one issue. The other one's slightly worse, but okay, solve this one. Luckily, this is a fairly simple issue to solve. I've just got to solder the 2 broken wires back together, put a bit of electrical tape around them, and then plug it back into the crash sensor. That's together. We should have an airbag fault down. Let's go check it. That has gone. But we still have one left in the airbag. Battery interruption igniter, resistance too low. I think that's a pyro fuse, but why does the car start? So I remember there being 2 pyro fuses on this car. I don't know why. I think we need to check underneath. Let's go and have a look underneath and see what that issue is, and we should get all the airbag lights off the dashboard then, if we can solve this issue. The pyro fuse normally cuts power going to the starter motor, but this car still starts. Here, I think, is the battery igniter fuse thing. So this wire here went up, and there's a pyro fuse in that box up there. But there's also like a separate fuse here, and I just wanted to make sure that this fuse was actually okay. So I tested the continuity on it. Oh, yeah, we're good. Okay, that has a connection. So that fuse hasn't gone. But, and the fuse, the pyro fuse can't have gone because the car starts, because this, I'm sure, goes up to the pyro fuse and then to the starter motor. Previously, when I took the car apart, I remember there being a pyro fuse hidden just above the battery, as you can see here. But all of it works, and that's what I can't understand. Look, this is literally a Mercedes pyro, but the fuse isn't blown, but there's whether it's faulty or something. I'm gonna leave the plug off for that pyro and put the ignition on in the car again, and then if I get a new fault, then I know that it's not this pyro and it's got to be the other one up there. But if I don't get a new fault, then it's got to be this thing in here that's got an issue. So I'm not going to plug back in the fuse that's directly on the battery, and we're going to see if anything's changed with the fault codes. What we're looking for is hopefully the same fault, because we've just unplugged it. So if that fuse is gone, essentially it thinks it's unplugged if the fuse is gone. So let's see. Oh, it is that fuse, because now we've got battery resistance too high, and when we plugged it in it was too low. So it is that fuse. Why that is gone but everything still works is still baffling me. I don't know why, but we're gonna have to order one of them and see if we can fix it. For now, let's plug it on and we'll take it out, drive it, and see if it clears any of the other faults that we've got on. We've still got all the transmission ones. I can't seem to clear the transmission ones, but we'll see. Let's take it out and we'll see if any of the faults disappear, especially the transmission ones. We know what we need to order so far, but we're going to come back to that engine control module fault. Right, let's connect it all back up. This is now a huge moment. Everything we've done so far is now about to be tested. Splitting the car in half, fixing the broken gearbox mounting, putting the car back together, repairing the interior, fitting the airbags, making the radiators, the front end, even the exhaust, are all about to be tested for the first time properly. Because I'm about to take the Bugatti for its first proper drive since the accident. It's a bit of a nerve-wracking moment, and Alex isn't here, but a mechanic should always test drive the car before giving it to a customer. This is my first time ever driving a Chiron as well, and it's like this.
This is crazy.
This is going to be mad. Okay, let's do it. Let's make sure we're in drive.
Literally sounds like we're in a jet.
I will take it easy first. Got no windscreen. Oh, it's driving smooth.
Is it?
Oh, some of the lights come off the dash as well. Some of the lights come off, traction's come off, steering's come off. Oh, she's driving good. Oh, it's so smooth. It's scary as well at the same time. Literally, the car was in half. The car was in half, and I'm now trying to pull it apart again by driving it.
so fast.
That was one hell of an experience. I've never drove a Chiron before, and that being my first ever Chiron to drive, what an experience that was. We're so close, like everything is coming together. We're hoping that's past the health check. Alex has missed out on this one, but we're trying to get it perfect for him for when he does drive it. We've got a few more mechanical things that we need to solve, like the airbag light, and there's one more thing which I'll show you guys towards the end of the video. I know Bugatti are watching this, and I am trying to do you guys proud on building a massive team up together to build all these parts up. Bob has literally manufactured this whole front end to fix against all odds, and we've managed to do it. We said we were going to do it regardless of whether we was going to get parts or not, and we're getting closer and closer. The fact it looks like that now, I think, is really cool. We do need to take it back inside and complete our health check to make sure that everything was all good. But something that is cool as well, to commemorate us driving this on the road for the first time, we have just dropped the HWBT shorts and the sports jackets as well. You can grab these on the hwbt.shop website at the minute, but they're only limited numbers, so once they are gone, they're gone, and it's perfect for summer. Let's get her inside and make sure everything is all good and there's no leaks, and we'll address the small situation, a little mistake that I made when putting this car back together. Let's get her inside. First thing we wanted to check is whether that gearbox mount was all good. I think it's passed the test.
From what I can see, it looks all good.
It looks good. You see this side? This side, look at that. And everything looked perfect. There's no, dare I say, no drastic leaks. Everything is looking good. It's looking so good so far, but there is one issue. And let me show you what we found earlier. Yeah, I've got the plug.
Got the plug.
But the sensor is wedged between this and the back.
That's really not good.
The only good thing is that I don't think it needs to come all the way out. The only bad thing is that I hope I haven't damaged the sensor. I guess that's what you get for splitting a car in half when you've not done it before. The sensor we're on about is right here. And the way that sensor's twisted at the sort of 10 pass position, it needs to be at around the 25 minutes to position, if that makes sense. But we should have seen that. Should have seen that. It is. Oh, it's fully wedged. There's got to be a way we can unwedge that. I don't think the car's got to come all the way apart. I think it could come a bit, but still, to make it a bit apart, we've got to disconnect a lot to do that. So the only way to fix that issue and get to that sensor, it seems like we're going to have to split this car apart again, or at least only just a little bit. We could maybe undo all of the bolts. You can't just undo one side because you're going to be leaving it against the other, so maybe we're going to have to undo all the bolts just a tiny bit, just to give that little separation to get that sensor out. If it is broken, we can replace it, because I'm sure it's going to be the same on any Volkswagen. But mistakes happen, and we've got the time to do it. We'll probably tackle that over on the second channel, so if you want to head over there to subscribe. If you're not subscribed to this channel already and you're watching the videos, please do it. The subscribe button is below this video. It's completely free. Thanks so much for watching this video. I've enjoyed this one. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.
Like a drug that I just can't deny.